Hello everyone, I hope you and your family are doing well. I am Gyanendra Kumar Sa. I am currently doing my PhD in University of Rostock. As I explained in my first video that I am going to make a series of videos which will help you understand cascaded control design for DC-DC converters. This is second video in the series where we will see how we can design inner current control loop in discrete time domain. If you have not watched my first video, then I highly recommend you to watch that video first and then continue watching this video. This is the same slide I have taken from my first video, where I have listed the 5 lectures I'm going to prepare and upload to YouTube, which will help you understand the inner current control loop and outer voltage control loop in detail for DC-DC converters. In the first lesson, I have already explained how we can design inner current control loop in continuous time domain, and we designed the current control loop for various DC-DC converters. So the steps we used were more general and can be adapted for any DC-DC converter. In this lesson, which is the second lesson, we will see how we can design the same inner current control loop, but in discrete time domain. So the designing of current control loop in discrete time domain is important, especially these days where majority of controls are implemented using microcontroller or digital controllers. These are the main topics which we will cover in this lesson. So in the first part of the lesson, we will see how we can obtain the direct discrete plant model. So direct discrete time plant model. So if we want to implement and build a controller in discrete time domain, then it is very important to have an accurate discrete time plant model. So in the first section, we will see some basics which will help us to get the direct discrete plant model. And in the second section, we will see how we can design our current controller in discrete time domain. And in the last session, we will see how we can tune our PI controller. So when I say tuning the PI controller, it means placing the closed loop poles or closed loop eigenvalues at desired frequencies. So let us first understand the basic difference between the continuous time and discrete time signals. So an example of continuous time signal is given on the given here. So this is our continuous time signal, and the corresponding discrete time signal is given here. This is our discrete time signal. So we can already see that the continuous time signal is available at every time, at every moment, at every instance. We have the valid number for value for continuous time signal. Whereas for discrete time signal, the values are only available at particular sampling instance. So let's say this is our sampling instance TS, then this is like 2 TS, 3 TS, and 4 TS, and so on. So the discrete values are available only for some sampling instances, and it is not available for all the time instances. So that is the main difference between discrete time signal and the continuous time signal. So the discrete time signal is basically obtained by sampling the continuous time signal at every sampling instances. So assuming the sampling time period is T, so the time difference between these two sampling events is basically called as the sampling time. So here T is your sampling time. So we get the discrete time signal by sampling the continuous time signal with the sampling time T. And hence we can use the continuous time signal, which is x of t, and the impulse time function. So we can multiply this continuous time signal and impulse time impulse time signal to get our discrete time signal. So this is our discrete time signal, and we can rearrange this, and we can write the discrete time signal using equation 2. If we take the Laplace transform of equation 2, then after simplification we can write x star of s, which is the Laplace transform of discrete signal, equal to this form. And further, to express this in a discrete time using discrete time notation, we have assumed that e of e power t s is equal to z. So using this notation, we can also write in we can also simplify this and write in the below form. So using this notation, we can rewrite this above expression into following form. So this is how this is the same expression, but just replacing s by 1 over t into log of natural log of z, and hence we get the different notation, a different way of writing the above Laplace transfer function. So this is the basic definition for our discrete time transfer function. So this is how we get our discrete time transfer function. This can also be written in a different way. So we can also write it as x star of s, and e power st is equal to z. So this is the same expression, but it's just that the condition is being changed. Now I instead of writing s equal to 1 over t into log z, so we can also use e power st equal to z. So both are basically the same. So this is the basic definition to get the z transfer function. And here you can see the z is just, by definition, it is equal to e power s into t. Okay, so this is the basics about z transfer function. Now let's see how we can get our plant model using how we can get the plant model in discrete time function. So what we know now so far, that our discrete time signal is not continuous. So it means its value is not available at every moment. So we cannot, its value is not available at every moment. So now let's assume from the discrete time controller, we get the duty cycle. We know that the output of current control loop is the duty cycle. So now if we get the duty cycle in discrete form, so we cannot give this duty cycle for the PWM implementation. So this will do something disaster. So we need to give a continuous signal to the PWM implementation, or we need continuous signal for PWM implementation. So hence what we do is we need to generate a continuous time signal from the discrete time signal. And this is done using zero order hold. So how this zero order hold works, that at sampling instance, it will sample the value and then it will hold the same value for the next, until the next sampling time. Then at the next sampling time, it will see what is the next value, and then it will go to the next value, and then it will hold the value until the next sampling event. And then again, it will change to the new value, and then it holds, and again it changes, and then it holds. So this is how the zero order holds generates continuous time signal from discrete time signal. And this behavior, which you see, the zero order behavior, it is very much similar to our PWM implementation, where we give our duty cycle reference, and then until the next sampling time, the duty cycle remains the same and our PWM is generated. So this zero order hold is very close realization of our PWM circuit. Okay, so this zero order hold, what it does is it basically converts our discrete time signal into continuous time signal, and this is our hardware system. So this is our actual physical system. So I would say actual physical system. And from this actual physical system, we can sample the voltages and current. So this is a switch which will which will only be connected when we have the sampling events occurring. So it means at this moment, at this time, this switch will be on and we'll get our discrete sample value. So this will be voltage, the sample voltage, and then we'll have the sample current. This is how our implementation works in a discrete time domain or using microcontrollers. And the transfer function of zero order hold in S domain, if you find out, you will see it is equal to 1 minus e power minus st over s. So this is in S domain, and also you can see the derivation of this in this reference link I have in the presentation. And if you want to find the transfer function of zero order hold in Z domain, then you would see its transfer function is going to be 1. So in Z domain, this does not, this is like a wire. Okay. Now let's see how we can obtain the Z transfer function from the Laplace transfer function. So we have this very general 3 steps which you can follow to get the Z transfer function. And so maybe it looks like a 3-step, but it involves a lot of steps internally to solve the equations. For example, you have to first do the partial fraction, then you have to solve the equation in continuous. You have to get the expression in continuous time domain. Then you have to discretize that, and after discretization, you have to get this. You have to write the equation in the using. You have to write the discrete time equation. You have to basically get this equation in the second step, which you can get easily once you have the discrete time signal. And then at the end, you have to solve this equation in the second step to get the final answer in the third step. So this will include a lot of steps internally, and then so it is going to be lengthy to solve for the Z transform. Now, so for sure we do not want to do a lot of work, a lot of background work. So there is a tool which you can use to get the Z transfer function very easily. How we can do that? So the simple way, and the very simple way to get our discrete time plant model is using this equation. So here x of s represents our transfer function of the system, including zero order hold. So this is our x of s. So from there, from input of zero order hold to the output of the hardware system, this is the x of s in the continuous time domain, and we have to find the Z transform, and we get the expression like this. And the Z transform of Z of S over S, we can easily get it from the transformation table. So we will see in the next slide how we can get our discrete time plant model using continuous time plant model. So this is our transformation table, and so this kind of table you can get so many tables like this in a Google, and this I just got it from this website. So let's see, let's do an example where G of S is equal to A over S plus A, and we want to find the discrete time plant model for this plant. So again, we will have a zero order hold in cascade with the Z of S. And from our formula, we can write x of z is equal to 1 minus z power minus 1, and then Z transform of G of S over S. Now G of S over S, we can write like, so we just substitute the value of G of S, so it becomes like this. And now we have to search the same the similar expressions in the column where the in the column of f of s. I mean in this column. So in this column, if you see that this the value the expression at 8th number is matching closely with our transfer function in the bracket, and hence we can. And then what we do is we look the corresponding the Z transform value, which is this one, and we just replace our Z transform of A over S into S plus A by Z into 1 minus A over yeah. So we just write it. We just write that expression, and then we simplify it, and we get the final answer. So we can again replace that Z power minus 1 using this. And you can see we can cancel these, and hence we have this as a final answer. So we can use the formula which is given here to find our direct discrete plant model. And this is very easy when we use our transformation table. Okay, so we can use the transformation table to quickly get our discrete plant model. If you do not like using this transformation table and you want to do math by yourself, then you are free to do it, but at the end you should get the same answer. Okay, so that was about direct discrete plant model, and there is a possibility that you can do some approximation and then you get your equivalent discrete plant model. So when I say equivalent, so this equivalent is not may not represents your the actual system behavior in discrete time domain for all the cases. So for some cases it may represents our discrete time behavior very accurately, but in other cases it may not. For example, if our sampling time is very good, it means our sampling time is like our sampling frequency is high, then your this approximation between the S and the Z domain works better. But when the sampling time is poor or the sampling frequency is less, then these approximation may not represent our actual system behavior in discrete time domain. So there are many approximations. These are just few, and then you can also see that we have this trapezoidal rule is also called as the Tustin approximation or Tustin method. So since these methods are not very general and not very accurate for all the cases, so I will use only the direct discrete plant model, which is accurate for all the cases. Okay, so again, so when we talk about control, we should also consider the region of stability. So in S plane, which is this plane, we already know that if we are on the left side of the real axis, if the poles are placed left side of the real axis, then what happens is our system is stable. But what happens in a Z plane? So now this is a different plane itself, and this is a different domain itself. This is in a discrete time, and S plane was in a continuous time. So in discrete time, which is the Z plane, our region of stability is inside the circle whose radius is less than 1. Okay, so if the radius is less than 1, then what we see is our controller is stable in discrete time domain. And how we can prove that? So what we know is Z is equal to e power st. So if we want to write in terms of pole, so we can write Zp is equal to e power t into basically p into S domain. Okay, and this p into S domain, in general, we can write it like this. We can write it like minus sigma plus j omega. And assuming so we can write it like this. So this is for condition and here what we have is the sigma is always greater than 0. So since sigma is greater than 0, what we have is the real component of pole in S domain is always negative. Okay, and this is our condition for stability. So this is for condition for stability in S plane. Now we would like to simplify this ZP using the expression of PS there. So ZP, we can now write it like this. So minus sigma T plus J omega T. And we can separate this like this, e power J omega T. So you can already notice that in a polar representation, which is R into e power J theta, what we can write, the radius is equal to e power minus sigma T, and theta is equal to your omega into T. Okay, so what we know as the value of the sigma is always positive. Hence, what we can write for stability, the value of sigma is always positive, and hence we can see the radius is always less than equal to 1. So this is our condition for stability. In Z domain. Okay, so for stability in Z domain or Z plane, what we need to see is our radius of the circle is always less than 1. So this is how we map our S plane into Z plane or vice versa. So here we have just 3 examples of the poles, where in this pole we have the real component as negative, and you can see it has mapping with this, the lowest circle. And this is the pole where we do not have real component, and this will map with the circle which has gain of which has radius 1. And this is the pole where we have the positive real number, and then we have so this maps to the circle whose radius is greater than 1. Okay, so that is just to give you an example. So now, if you want to tune your PI controller, or you want to place your pole in Z plane at particular frequency, then you can use this expression. So e power P into PS. So this is a general expression if you want to place your pole at this location. Yeah, so when you want to place your pole at this location, and this we will use for tuning our PI controller later in this video. Okay, so let's move forward. Now we would like to design our current controller in discrete time domain. So until now we just saw some basics, and let's use those basics to design our current controller in discrete time domain. So the very first step is to get discrete time plant model. So I would get direct discrete plant model. So direct discrete time plant model. So we already know from the first lecture that our average plant model looks like this. So here VL average is the inductor average voltage, IL average is the inductor average current, this is the inductance of the inductor, and then this is the internal resistance. So this is our average circuit diagram. So if you want to know how we get this circuit diagram, then please watch the first video. And we also saw that we can write this VL average as A into D plus B, where the A and D are the coefficients and their unit is voltage. Their unit is volt. Okay, so now we also saw in the previous video that we can write, we can get our plant model in Laplace domain like this. We can get 1 over Ls plus R, and this will give us IL average. So this is in continuous time domain. And now we want to get our plant model in discrete time domain. So to get the plant model in discrete time domain, so this is our plant, and in continuous time domain, so we can write it like G of S, and with the zero order hole, this is zero order hole, and then this is your G of S. We have this IL average G of S with the sampling. So this switch only connects when there is a sampling event. So we'll get this discrete time signal. And then here what we have is our VL average, but in discrete time domain. And after the zero order hold, we will get the continuous time VL average. So this is our actual plant when we see in a discrete time realization. Now, we already know the formula to find the direct discrete plant model, which is equal to 1 minus Z power minus 1, and then Z transform of G of S over S. Now we will simplify this. So we can write this as Z minus 1 over Z into Z transform of 1 over S into LS plus R. Now we should see which form is matching very closely in the transformation table. So this is our transformation table. And so if we want to compare which expression matches closely with the expression we have in the bracket, so we can see again the same expression, which is this is again matching. So the eighth expression is matching. But now we need to rewrite this equation. We need to rewrite this equation so that we get the correct form in the transformation table. So now let's rearrange this. So you can see after rearranging, so we can divide both numerator and denominator by L, and we will get like S plus R over L. And now so the S is free from any term now, but we should see we can see that this both numerator and denominator should have the same variable. So then what we do is we multiply with R on numerator and denominator. Then we get the Z transform of R over L into S plus R over L. And here you can see A is equal to R over L, which is equal to 1 over tau. So here tau is equal to L over R, and this is called your inductor time constant. Okay, so you might have seen this inductor time constant in many places. Okay, so now what we do is we just use the transformation table, and then we write the Z transform of that. So we can just write this one, and after writing that, we get like this: Z minus 1 into Z minus e power minus 80. Okay, so now the work of table is done. So that was the only work of the table. So from table we get this transfer function. This transfer function in Z domain. So from table we should get this transfer function in Z domain. Now we just have to do simplification. So this cancels, this cancels, and what we have is so A we can replace using 1 over tau by R into Z minus e power t over tau. So here t is your sampling time. So remember, this is your sampling time. This is not your switching time, this is your sampling time. So let's simplify this further and denote it like this. So where k is equal to 1 minus e power t over tau over R. And you can clearly see this is a constant because here it is only depending on the parameter. So if our R and L are constant, then for sure our the value of k will be also constant. So you can see this is our plant model. Looks simple, isn't it? Now let's draw our plant model in discrete time domain. So this time we will draw our plant model in discrete time domain. So this was the plant model in continuous time domain. So I would say plant model in continuous time domain. And now let's draw the plant model in discrete time domain. So it's very easy. We have our VL average already in discrete time domain. And we have the gain, which is K over this. And then we get IL average in discrete time domain. So that's it. This is our discrete plant model. And now following the first lecture, we can also write it like D in discrete time domain into A, and then plus B. Okay. So this is our direct discrete plant model in direct discrete plant model. It was very simple to get this discrete plant model, right? And again, this you should know that this value of A and B, they basically are the voltages, and for sure they should also be your in the form of set transforms. So these are also the sampled signals. So these are also the sampled voltages and sampled sampled voltages. So this is our direct discrete plant model for DC-DC converters. Okay, now we want to design a controller, which is going to be very similar what we did in the first lecture. So for controller, what we have, the first thing is we have the reference. Now the reference will be in discrete time domain, and then we subtract the feedback. We get the error, and then we have a PI controller. So now the PI controller will look like this. So this is your P gain, and this is your integrator gain, and we add both. So this is our PI controller. Okay, so this is our PI controller. And now we do the disturbance input decoupling. So this is our disturbance input decoupling, DID, and we multiply with the inverse of A of Z, and hence we get our reference duty cycle, which goes to PWM implementation, and then everything works fine. So this is how our current controller looks in discrete time domain. So this is our I would say direct discrete time inner current controller. It is important to note that this reference value, this comes from outer voltage control loop. So which we will see in the next video. And here let's write the value of variables. So K is equal to, so the K is equal to 1 minus e power t over tau divided by R, your tau is equal to L over R. So this is our direct discrete inner current controller. Now, the last part is to design our, to tune our PI controller. To tune our PI controller, we already know that the gain from this point until this point is equal to 1. Okay. So for tuning the PI controller, we need to draw the simplified state block diagram, which we also did in our continuous time current controller. And what we can do is we can write it like plus minus PI of Z. And then this, since the gain is 1, we can simply replace from like a wire. And this becomes Z e power T over tau. This is our IL reference in discrete time domain. And this is your sampled currents in discrete time domain. Now let's find the value of PI. So the transfer function of PI, we can write it like Kp plus KIT over 1 minus Z power minus 1. So it's also, there is one more thing I would like to note that so this integrator in discrete time domain, you can realize in various ways. I like doing in this way. In some places, you will also see that they use Z power minus 1 also in the numerator. And so it does not make much difference. When you see the tuning the PI controller, the process is going to be the same. But I like doing this way because implementing in this way, we save one extra memory in the controller, and our implementation wise, it's actually a little better. But it really does not matter when we which expression which you use, and the PI tuning process is going to be same. It's just that the arrangement of the PI controller variables would look a little bit different. So we can find the gain, the transfer function of PI controller, and then let's solve it. So if we rearrange this, we can write it like this. Now let's take common KPI T Z KP over KP. Yeah, so we just took common. And now let's do one more simplification. Let's assume this is equal to KPI and this is equal to del. So assuming these two variables, what we can write the PI expression as KPI Z minus del. So this is our PI of Z. Okay, and now you can also, and of course here KPI is equal to KP plus KI into T, and your del is equal to KP over KP plus KI into T. So you can also solve, so if you have these two equations, then you can solve for KP and KI. So KP you can easily write KPI into del, and KI you can write it as KPI minus KP over T. And so again you can write KPI as KPI into del over T, and hence you can write KPI 1 minus del over T. So it means what you can write KP as KPI into del, and KI is equal to KPI into 1 minus del over T. And again here T is your sampling time. So if you know KPI and del, you can find KP and KI gain, and if you know KP and KI gain, you can also find KPI and del gain, del value. So it's just the way of writing it, and you will now understand why I wrote in this form. So let's draw the transfer from the state block diagram again. So we just now saw the PI can be replaced like this. So we can write like Z minus del by Z minus 1. And then this is our plant. I'm sorry, it's e power t over tau. So this is our reference. This is our actual value. So let's check the plant model again, and it's correct. Now let's find the open loop transfer function. So the open loop transfer function in Z domain is going to be KPI into Z minus del, Z minus 1 into K by Z minus e power t over tau. So again with pole zero cancellation technique, so it is possible to do pole zero cancellation. So pole zero cancellation means here del is going to be equal to t over tau. What we have is the new open loop transfer function is KPI K by Z minus 1. So it looks very simplified, and this is expected because we have just eliminated one pole and one zero by cancelling them with each other. So now we can find the closed loop. So here you can see this is a one equation, and this is just depending on the parameter. So the value of del you can simply find by just substituting the value of L and R in the above equation. Now let's see how we can tune the value of KPI, how we can find the gain KPI. So this is our open loop transfer function, which is KPI K Z minus 1. This is actual average, and this is reference average. So the closed loop transfer function, which is also called as command tracking, is equal to Z of Z by 1 plus Z of Z. And you can, of course, simplify this and you will get the final expression like this. Okay. Now, this is our closed loop transfer function in Z domain. And we just saw before few slides that what we can do is we can place the pole of closed loop command tracking in Z domain at pole PS equal to minus omega BR by comparing the denominator of C of t with Z minus ZP, where ZP is equal to e power S into t, where ZP is equal to e power PS into t. Yeah, so this relation we already saw in our presentation, right? So once we compare the denominator, what we get is 1 minus KPI into K is equal to ZP. And this means our KPI is equal to 1 minus ZP by K. And we can replace the value of Zp as e power minus omega br into t over k. So if we want to summarize, so the PI tuning, what we have is del is equal to e power minus t over tau. KPI is equal to 1 minus e power minus omega br t over k, where omega br is your design parameter, which we also discussed in the first lesson. Design parameter, and if there is no input given, so you can always choose your bandwidth like this. So this switching frequency divided by 10 is done so that we do not see the switching harmonics into our control. And now you can find the KP, which is del into KPI. And if you just rewrite them, it is e power t over tau into 1 minus omega br t over k. This is your KP. And you can write KI as KPI 1 minus del over t. So the KPI is this. And then del is 1 minus e power t over tau. So these are our final expressions for KP and KI. And you can see the value of KP and KI is parameter dependent, and it's also depending on your sampling time. Yeah, you can see the sampling time in the equation, right? So in the continuous time domain, you saw the value of KP and KI only depends on your parameter values, but here it's also dependent on your sampling time. And if you have the wrong plant model, for sure, then you will have the expressions for KP and KI wrong, and then your bandwidth, intended bandwidth, will not be at desired place. And here our K is equal to 1 minus e power t over tau over r. Tau is equal to L over R. Yeah, so this is how you can tune your KP and KI gain. Now let's draw the actual circuit implementation. So we have our source voltage. It goes to DC-DC converter. Then we have our load. This is our V of S. This is I of S. Then again, this is your V out. This is I out. So from here we can, so this is our actual inductor current in continuous time domain. And using sample and hold, using sample, you can get your discrete time signal. You can get discrete time signal. Now, so as we saw in the first lesson, that if we do the double sampling or the single sampling using a triangular waveform, I mean we sample, so let's say we have the triangular waveform like this, and this is our duty cycle. So if we sample signals at these extremes, then we already sample the inductor mean current. So the double sample means we sample twice. So we sample here and here. This is double sample. Double sampling. And the single sampling would look like this. So either this is your single sampling, or you do this as a single sampling. So you either sample it upper extreme or the lower extreme. So this is your single sampling. Okay. So this is at both extreme. Either one of the extreme. So if you do the double or single sampling, what you get is you already get the mean value. So you already get the mean value, mean inductor current. So you don't need to do any averaging. Okay, so that's important. And then this goes as a feedback. We get our, so this is not in a continuous time domain. This is in discrete time domain, and we get our reference in discrete time domain. This comes from our outer energy loop. Sorry, not outer voltage loop, not energy loop. And then we have PI in Z transformation implementation, and we subtract the B of K, and then we do 1 over A of K. This goes as a duty cycle reference, and in discrete domain, and then using the whole zero order hole, we get the reference in continuous time domain, and then this goes to our PWM. So this goes to PWM implementation, and this gives us the switching signals for S1 and S2, and this goes to our switches in the hardware. So this is how we implement our discrete time current controller. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to design your controller in discrete time domain. It is just that you have to follow some steps, and you should get the accurate discrete plant model. So that is the first step. Then you have to design your state block diagram for the current control, and then you can just follow some steps to tune your PI controller. So this is all about designing current controller in discrete time domain. And I would like to mention that the steps followed here can be also used to design your controller for voltage control or power control or any control you would like to design. And yeah, so this is all about this lesson. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have any questions, then you can write it to me, or you can write in a comment section. And if you like the video, then please like, comment, and share to your friends or colleagues. Thank you very much.